we have, because learning from yesterday again, one would think that the opposition would solidify behind a particular candidate, which apparently I didn't see happening. Nominated Semuju, and one would have suspected that that was going to be the official candidate, flag bearer for the opposition. It turns out that only 15 members were able to vote for him. So now that gives us a lot into the opposition camp, that we don't have a solidified effort or camp in any of the opposition, because if the opposition plus the independents came together, it would have been a very formidable force. One would also have expected that because Kadaga had been around, and there has been rumors that actually she was courting the opposition to be part of her support. But when you look at what she got, I don't think that was even true, because remember there were people like Oulanyah who came up to say, no, look, the speaker left us when during and that has been one of the hard points between Kadaga and the opposition. Semuju has been openly talking about that, that Speaker Kadaga left us to the beating, and we were beaten, and she didn't come to our rescue. I don't understand what exactly what they mean there, but so you realize that when you look at FDC, they have their own things. You look at the members of DP, they seem not to know where to happen next. You look at the people of NUP also seem not to be even consolidated. So there are going to be a lot of those movements trying to build camps, and also you may see more of the opposition turning into leaning towards independence more than any of the established political systems.
Well, when you look at the statistics or the figures they're in, you notice that for this particular time round, the opposition has more numbers than the previous parliament.
Yes.
If you look at NUP with 57, and I think 3 or 4 independents, they're up to about 61. You look at FDC, they have 1 independent, and I think 38 or 36. UPC, Democratic Party, you have JEMA, and their independents, just about 5 or 6 or 7 independents from the opposition, and the number. But look at the figures themselves. If you look at, because the challenge here is there is no bloc called the opposition.
Yes. That
the opposition could not galvanize their support and say, we as the opposition, now that means we come as JEMA, we come as UPC, we come as FDC, we come as NUP, and consolidate our efforts and support one person. That wasn't there. Now, you ideally had Sebamala coming on the DP ticket, Semujunganda coming as an FDC candidate. Now, when you look at Kadaga's votes, if Kadaga got 197, because she got 197 votes, looking from the statistics, don't you think that in a way the opposition actually marshaled their support for Kadaga? Because if you have about 100 members of parliament who are in the opposition, and Kadaga gets 197, which is almost twice the number of those in the opposition, don't you think that by default, the opposition actually went with the Honorable Kadaga, leaving only 15, because we do not know who the 15 were because it was a separate ballot. Now, FDC alone has 36 votes, or 36 members of parliament. Now, we don't know whether these 15 that went with Semujunganda actually from the FDC as a political party, because Semujunganda was nominated by Oulanyah of NUP, and Semujunganda was seconded by the Soroti City Member of Parliament at Atan. The Soroti, he's an FDC.
FDC, yes.
Exactly. So looking at those dynamics, now we can't tell whether the 15 that voted for Semujunganda were actually FDC or FDC NUP or even independents in a way. Don't you think that the majority of those could have decided to go with the Honorable Kadaga?
But at the same time, much as that could be true, but also you also look at the scenario whereby the Honorable Oulanyah is seconded by Mongin,
Amongi.
Yes, Ongom.
Of UPC.
Of UPC. So that also communicates a message. Who decided that she will be the seconder? There must have been a camp that said and said, no, you will be the one to second. And by default, then it also means that UPC has about 10 members of parliament, I think, in the current parliament. Is it possible? And most of these 10 members, where are they coming from? They're coming from the great region where Oulanyah is coming from. So it is also possible by default that UPC in its entirety voted for Oulanyah. Now, it is also possible that some members of opposition voted for Kadaga. But it's also possible that there were also people, the machos and others, who supported Kadaga either from the leaning independence, and also some people of the movement who, because they know Kadaga as a person, they believe in her, also voted for him, for her. So there was no, other than the movement group, there was no solid camp that you can say voted for any of those candidates. There were blocks, and there were also shifts and crossovers from either parties to one of those candidates.
In 2016, we saw a similar incident when the Honorable Jacob Oulanyah was tussling it out with Honorable Mohamed Nsereko. Now, that was Nsereko's second term in Parliament as a Member of Parliament for Kampala Central. And then there were about 60, I think they're just slightly above 60 or 67 members of Parliament in the opposition. Now, Nsereko, as an independent candidate, comes on. The National Resistance Movement Party, at that time, had about 367 members of Parliament in the House. After that election, Oulanyah had 300 votes against Mohamed Nsereko's 115 votes, which was almost about 30% of the entire House. And it was also worrying that Mohamed Nsereko would actually... Now remember that NRM had adopted a position as a political party, and their position was Kadaga goes unopposed, then we maintain the status quo and see Oulanyah come against Nsereko. And if all of them had heeded to the NRM position, then actually Kadaga, I beg your pardon, if they had all had heeded to the party position, then Jacob Oulanyah would actually get 367 votes. That's what you should have got. Now, you notice that all of them were in attendance, but Oulanyah managed to get only 300, meaning there are another big chunk of members of Parliament who did not go with the party position. What do those things mean, symbolize, and tell about our political dispensation and the parties that we belong or subscribe to?
I think over time the political realities are shifting. That there are more people who are becoming independent within their political systems, and they have this feeling of individualistic positions. Because if a political party has a position, it's assumed that a number of things have been considered to get to that point that, no, for us as a political party, I think this is the best thing that is for us, for this political, for this particular office or position. And it's also assumed that there have been made necessary arrangements to accommodate the other persons who would have otherwise wished to vie for the same position in a form of card placement. And that happens in most of the political parties world over, that you have this position, but it's only one position, you have 3 candidates. These all 3 candidates cannot fit in this. So we have only one person, and the other persons will be accommodated here and elsewhere. We have seen this happen with the CCM. We have seen this happen with the this other political party in Ghana. We have also seen this happen in the parliament and political systems in ANC. So the issue does not matter much who goes where, but rather what the political party or establishment wants to achieve as a political party, because you may be wishing to have that political position, but maybe you are better off serving somewhere than in that political. We saw that happen with Kikwete when he wanted to come on. Late president,
William Benjamin
Mkapa was also contesting, but the political party, the CCM said no. First of all, you are still young. These are old men. Leave the old man go. For you, you will be deployed. And they deployed him, I think, in foreign affairs.
Foreign affairs, yes.
And that is where I think foreign affairs in Tanzania is one of the
breeding ground
for presidents. So it doesn't matter where one goes, as long as it is the goodwill of the political party. Members can be accommodated within. So we are also looking not only at the movement. You see that happening, because how many members of parliament does FDC have, and how many members does NUP have? But you see them not coming together as a political bloc. But politics of alliances is built on strength, but also positions. What does UPC believe in? That is a common factor also with the movement. Or what does NUP believe in, which is also common with the UPC or FDC. So those commonalities provide areas of alliances. Say, we may disagree on particular issues, but on these principles we agree. So let's come together for this common good. But once we achieve it, then every person, every party will go to its role. Now, the biggest problem we have in this country is that our political parties, especially the opposition, don't have specific agenda that they want achieved. The commonest of all of them is to win the election or to find the movement out of governance.
Not actually the movement, but the president.
Exactly. Yeah, Museveni as a person.
Museveni as a person.
Yeah. So the commonality amongst all the political parties in Uganda is that to see that the President Museveni actually is out of power. But when you look at the issues of policy in terms of how shall we handle agriculture, how shall we handle education, how shall we handle our foreign policy, how shall we handle our defense, there is a very gray area, if anything at all. So you find even allying becomes a problem. If you are a Muslim, how do you ally with a Catholic? And when it comes to eating, will you eat together, or will you not join the eating, but you'll be doing, you'll stop at the church when the service is being conducted? So these are some of the things that need to be addressed within the political establishment, so that there are foundations, but also principles that govern those political parties that can be either coped or can be an issue of discussion. So for us, we believe in this, you believe in this, but we can have a common point on this. Because for all these years, you are trying to chase a shadow which you have not achieved. Can't we sit down as political parties and say, no, for the good of Uganda, let's consolidate our efforts and let's plan this? Because some of the issues that we have can also help even a government in power to say, let's, I think, also copy this from the opposition, which we can do. Because Uganda is bigger than all of us. Okay. No one has the monopoly over Uganda. Okay. Every person has a part that we can play as individuals.
Okay. Now look at the Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, because he's been Deputy Speaker for 10 years. He's starting now his first 5 years as the Speaker of Parliament. Now, being in the chambers to conduct parliamentary business and much of these things is something that he's gained and earned a lot of experience. He knows how to do it. You remember very well that when Jacob Oulanyah had just come into the chambers, there were these talks, of course, from the opposition that Jacob Oulanyah is just an NRM yes man. And they even actually said his loyalty to the party is blind loyalty. It's not about maybe professionalism or whatever that is. And so there was a belief that whenever the NRM wanted to pass through any bill that is not pro-people or whatever it is, they would bring Oulanyah to chair the parliament and see that go through. it escalated when it got to now the discussion of 102B of the Constitution. If you remember, in 2017, the first person to start on the issues of 102B was actually Jacob Oulanyah, and they failed him from conducting business, saying Oulanyah is just a M7 yes man. Has that attitude changed from the people and members of the parliament? Because many of those who have been accusing Oulanyah of just having blind loyalty to the party are still with him in parliament. And there is this feeling and saying that now that the NRM has Oulanyah, President Museveni wants men like Oulanyah who will not challenge him, but who will just endorse each and everything that possibly now comes from SEC or comes from the caucus or comes from cabinet, whatever that is. So look at that. Do you see Oulanyah being a different speaker from what the people, especially those who oppose him, think that is just going to be a yes man in chambers and to just pass whatever NRM wants to go through?
We can much to it speculate that when one becomes a speaker will not be the person himself has always been, because there will be a lot of interest, just like we have mentioned. We have the political parties, you have the interested groups, you have the regional blocks, you have issues of gender, you have the elderly, so all these are interests. Now, as a speaker, you will have to cater for all these interests. There may be positions which are hard to take, but of course you'll be the same person who will take them anyway. So maybe he was not exposed to some of those hard decisions to take, that he could not be charged for what decisions he took, because all this that are being said speculation is that if he was given a hard decision which involved the executive, he will take in favor of the executive. But of course much to it will also depend to the person himself, how he conducts his business when he's in the chambers. For now, we are speaking because that is what is in the public realm, that people believe that Honorable Oulanyah would be more of a leaning, more leaning towards the executive. But he has to prove that thinking wrong, because that thinking is there anyway. We cannot say it is not there, but it is now him who will prove that that is not what he is, by doing what his work, and he will be charged by what he's doing more than what is assumed of him. Now that will be entirely on his work methods, and I know every person comes to office with different work methods. It may not work exactly the way Honorable Kadaga was working, but the deliverables will show how his mode of work and how fast he will be able to move to, dispel some of those fears, the way he will be conducting his business.
Some people already think that the Honorable Kadaga might clog the system of Parliament if now, because it's common knowledge that as things are, by this morning today, she's now backbench in Parliament, now moving from the chambers after 20 years, coming into the backbench with a whopping 197 members of Parliament that do believe in her. Many people think that she can actually suffocate business on the floor as a de facto leader of opposition, even not pronounced. Many are actually looking and saying, now, what's Kadaga's fate? Because she is the number 3 of the party, sitting at SEC. She is number 3 of the party. Now she is a member of Parliament representing Kamuli district, also on the ticket of the National Resistance Movement. And now having her in Parliament, and of course the issues or the relationship that has been public. It's been a public secret to all of us of how Kadaga and Oulanyah have been relating in the chambers as Speaker and Deputy Speaker, respectively. Yeah. How about that? That she might actually suffocate or clog the system of Parliament by having this command of the 197 behind her to maybe frustrate and fail now the successor.
When some question was raised about NUP, saying that what will happen when these members of NUP come to Parliament, are they not going to be a very big hurdle for the operations of Parliament? Of course, the numbers showed that they are not a very big number, but that one sounding the same as the other argument is that when, and this is what we discussed, saying, when these people of opposition come to parliament, the allegiance to the to their president of the political party somehow shifts, knowing that the president of that political party is not going to be in parliament. And I've seen this from the experience of FDC. When FDC appointed the leader of opposition, especially when they appointed the MP from Kasese, Winnie Kiza, you saw a lot shifting. First of all, members of parliament would want to associate with the person who is going to help them and facilitate them to get to committees of parliament. Now, for you who is outside parliament, you may not do much. You can recommend, but still members of parliament can decide, say, I want to be on the committee of finance, I want to be on the committee on presidential and others, I want to be on parliament on health. Now, for the president who is outside parliament may not decide much of that, but the leader of opposition in parliament can facilitate that process. So you see the alliance, I mean the loyalty shifting more towards the leader of opposition more than the president who is outside the party. So I know, and unfortunately, yesterday I think Honorable Kadaga wanted to make a statement in Kololo. She was not given that chance. Would have wished to know what was on her mind and what did she intend to say. I suspect she wanted to, since the president was there and everyone from the movement was there, she wanted to say, look, I did that because I want also to show that the movement is democratic enough that I was, even when I was allowed, I mean, when I contested against the official flag bearer, I was still allowed to do so without being demonized. Maybe she wanted to say something like that. Or she wanted to say that now I've gone back to the movement. What has happened here has happened. I don't know. Or maybe she wanted to say, now I've left the movement. I don't know. But we should have given her, and I think we shall get the chance for her to tell us how she now feels after that loss. But I also don't think that Kadaga is going to be abandoned by the movement to remain a backbencher. I'm sure there will be something that will be done for her to be accommodated within the leadership of the party, because it will be a mistake if that happens. And being a person of that caliber in the party, I don't think she will be abandoned to remain a banker bench, and I'm very positive about that. So we still have...
Do you see her taking any assignment? Do you see her taking any position given to her by the executive? If because what most people are looking at, they are looking at the precedent of her and His Excellency Sekandi. They were together in the chambers when Sekandi was exiting. After 2 terms as Speaker, of course, Kadaga was Deputy Speaker. Then, of course, Sekandi moves on to the Dr. VP, and Kadaga takes over Parliament. Now, people look at it as a tradition, and that was the same reason for actually now asking Kadaga to leave it for Oulanyah, because it is not written anywhere in their annals, but it is a precedent that they've set as a party, that after your 10 years, you now leave for your deputy to come on. Now that means if nothing happens, then Oulanyah might also run now 2026, 2031. Then after that time, then it will become Anita's time also, after 10 years as deputy, then she also comes, and then that's the pattern in the party. And many people think or see her carry on and go to the docket of VP. But you remember that initially, there were also rumors that Vice President now, Sekandi, had refused that offer of moving from speakership to Vice President. And when you look into the protocol orders, is now you look at Kadaga as being number 3. She can only become number 2. She can only move to become number 2. You know, that's progress. Now, away from that, if she's not any of those, then what does she become? What does she become? Where does she go? Because when you look into protocol setting, is people talk about Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I think, is number 8 or 7. People talk about now when you say Deputy Prime Minister, then we actually don't know where you're placing and putting all the things. But you see Kadaga as accepting any appointment from the executive, or she will turn it down and say, having led another arm of government, I can't be under another arm of government?
I think I suspect and I agree with the people who think that she might take a position in the government, because you know, even when people are saying she cannot do this, there are people who are saying she has not come
she has
openly.
not said it.
Exactly. She has never come openly to say, you see, for me, unless I'm a speaker, I'm not going to do anything. Kadaga, I'm sure, is one of the, she is one of the senior members of the political party, and her allegiance to the political party has been superb, because she has been accused as a speaker who has been favoring motions generated by the executive. So her loyalty in the party
is unquestionable.
Yeah, it's unquestionable. The issue of the election is that the way they went, I think she also had issues with the process through which the elections were conducted. And having taken that long time, which was without coming up clean with the decision, was also suspect. But that notwithstanding, for me, I believe that she will be accommodated within the party ranks, because she has not come out open to say, you know, for me, if I'm appointed vice president, or I'm appointed prime minister, or I'm appointed anyone in this political party, I'm not going to work. She has not said that. And we can give that benefit of doubt that given a position in the political party, she will be able to serve. And I don't know why people were also thinking that when you come from number 3 to number 2 is a demotion. I don't understand that, because the position of vice president, or the position of because we have even seen people in this government who have left positions of ministers and appointed as RDCs, and they have worked, and many of them have really served. So I will not be surprised if she will be accommodated within the top ranks of government, or she will be given another assignment on behalf of government. You remember when Dr. Kazibwe left office, at one point she had been fronted as not only on one, a number of global agencies. So we still have a lot of space where she can be accommodated both within and without.
Why do people think that the position of the vice president in this country is not a good position? I am only thinking, why? Because many people talk about it and say, no, you know, the position of the vice president, but the constitution is very clear on
but
who the vice president
think, again,
is.
people who are saying so are either ill-informed,
exactly. People look at the position of the vice president,
or uninformed.
Yes, as if it's not even there, as if we do not even have a vice president. That's why they even keep posting on social media all the time to remind us. But
I think it is Madame Kazibwe that gave that explanation. There's an interview that she was given, and she explained exactly what it means to be the vice president of this country. She did even say that at one point she fired a minister.
Exactly. And
to be able to do that, and for me,
and she also said that whenever the president leaves the country, she appoints you as
the acting president.
As the acting president.
Yes.
And she said, for just decorum and civility, and say it's only the chair that I didn't sit in, but I could sit in the president's office, sign on documents, do all the things as the president.
Yes, the president.
Just for decorum, it's just his chair that I spared and didn't sit in the man's
but
chair.
also what people also need to understand, and having worked in the office of the vice president for quite some time, what people need to understand is that the person occupying the office, like we have just said, people come with different ways how they do the work. How you conduct your business is not the same way I would do it if I sit in your chair. Now, we have had from the time of Dr. Of course, within the movement system, we had Dr. Mululu Kiseka, we had Dr. Kazibwe, we had Dr. Bukenya, we have, Professor Bukenya, we now have Edward Sekandi. These four people had different ways how they do their things. Dr. Kazibwe was more concerned about the health and of the people, and wherever she would do, most of her things were to do with that. Now, that's why she had issues with the Valley Dams, because that was not part of her her major in her life. When you look at Dr. Kiseka, was more to do with the mobilization of people, and people thought they were abusing them when they said, if you don't want to work, and now when it came to to Vice President of Kenya, was more concerned about the welfare. That's why introduced the upland rice. Now, these are some of the programs which the president does not tell you, do this, do this, do this, because the president will give you sometimes assignments, but you also have constitutional obligations as an officer occupying that office without being told certain things that you can do. You can come up with plans, and apparently what people need to know is that the office of the vice president is such that you don't have the program called, or the office or the ministry called the office of the vice president. In government, we operate programs or what we call, you can have a department. There's a ministry, you have a department, or you have just a program, or you have the lining that goes with the budget for it. Now, during the time of Dr. Kiseka, the office of the vice president was a separate entity. It had its own budget line. It had its own permanent secretary. It was a ministry running on its own. But then, when Dr. Kazibwe came in, she felt it was necessary to have this office as one office. The office of the president, the office of the vice president, to be one office, so that they become the private office of the president. Now, there is the public office of the president, where you have office of the president, but the private office of the president is the State House. Now, State House has the state lodges, all the staff working under State House are in the private office of the president and the vice president. So the office of the president and the office of the vice president come together to form State House. Now, State House is the private program of the presidency. So the presidents now are fused. The office of the president, the functions of the president, and the functions of the vice president are fused. So the vice president does not have a program of their own. They are running the program as State House. So what people need to know, that you now as a vice president don't do your own things. But that does not stop you from generating programs that will support the presidency. Because the aim of State House is to facilitate these two offices. Now, the office of the vice president is not, it's just a code, a program that is under the presidency. We have program 1, which is the president, program 2, which is the vice president. All the facilitation from State House go to these particular programs. Now, that means the work of the president and the work of the vice president are fused. And this is common world over. I don't know how many people from the time President Biden came to office, how many times they have heard about the vice president. There are not many, because the program is one. When I'm not able to attend this particular function as a president, delegate the vice president. If I'm not going to chair cabinet as a president, the vice president will be there. In the event of an absence or an hindrance to do my work as a president, the vice president is there. That is what it means. And now, when people tell you, as a president, if it's a hard decision to be taken as a vice president, I don't need to take that decision. The president is there to decide. So the vice president is to feed into the program of the president and vice versa. So that's what people need to understand.
Okay. To the Wananchi, who now say or think Busoga has been now kicked out. Buganda doesn't seem to have anything in there. Loriti is now moving to eastern, the farthest east, and now northern Uganda. And there are these talks now. The pedestrians, the Wananchi, the Muntuawansi, think now, okay, this is how President Museveni does his things. He uses you, dumps you, throws you away, and stuff like that. Let's look at now that particular issue of regional balance, as people have actually wanted to construe it and say that now here is what it is. And just looking at Parliament itself, we now wait to see the next leader of opposition. Now, because the National Unity Platform has the biggest majority of the opposition members of Parliament, we'll wait to see who they actually bring. Are they bringing one from Eastern Uganda? Because I think they have one from Eastern Uganda, Nambeshe. Are they bringing from the central here where they have the majority? Because major or the majority of those are from within here. Where do we see it going? And of course, just shape of the Parliament itself with a leader of opposition whom we actually do not know, and the Basoga feeling being left out.
I think it is too early for any person to feel left out, because first of all, government is not yet formed, the cabinet has not been formed. There are going to be a lot of takeaways from there. Who is going to come in as a president, I mean as a vice president, as a prime minister, and all the other departments of government. So there's a lot that will come out of that. But at the same time, it is not the president deciding who the speaker should have or should be. Because even when he gives guidance, members of parliament can go ahead and vote the way they want to vote, like we saw yesterday. Because if it were the president telling them vote for Oulanyah, you would have suspected that everyone would have voted for Oulanyah. But we saw what happened. So, but the president can influence cabinet, can decide who goes to cabinet. And the president can only be crucified for the decisions that is going to be taken between now and the time we get the new cabinet. But I'm sure also President Museveni has always been conscious about the regional issues, has been conscious about the gender issues, also the issues of the vulnerable groups and the rest. And of course the political loyalty also comes into play. Now that he will be charged on that finally when that time comes. But for now, I think we have, like we did say yesterday, we have only now 3 people, 4 plus the deputy speaker, who are occupying positions legally. I think 5 plus now the deputy chief justice. Otherwise, you have the president who is legally elected. You have the speaker who is now legally elected, and the deputy speaker, and the chief justice, and the deputy justice, heading the 3 arms of government. We are now looking forward to see who will be appointed to the second office in the executive, and of course the cabinet. And then the government will be complete, and work will start. Remember, we're having the budget, we're having the national address, I think soon.
The next month, yes, coming in just a few weeks.
So we need all these things done, and now that parliament is fully composed, they will be able to vet the nominees that the president is going to come up with, maybe within the shortest time possible.
Finally, on corruption, when President Museveni was speaking yesterday, after everything had been done, and of course administering the oath of the speaker and the deputy speaker, he said this particular term is a term for socio-economic transformation, because much of the infrastructure has actually been put in place, but now it is apportioning socio-economic transformation. And many people, actually these are some of the rumors that were circulating in and around the premises of Kololo, that the government doesn't seem to have the will to fight corruption to its marrow, because they suspect that Oulanyah's support was artificial, because it was support that was, it was not just a party position that the party has willed, the party has decided. It had to also go with some bribes, with some money, with some token, with some calls, with some muzzles and all the things. And so the opposition is saying, can this establishment fight corruption if on the onset the people that should be helping government to fight corruption are people who are out to the boat to say, if you don't give me this, then I will go with Mututa. If you give me this, then I will go with Jagenda, in a way.
But if there was that buy-in at all, because I know politics in most cases and in some cases, and we have had experiences of those buy-ins in camps of political groupings. If there was buying in at all, was the opposition innocent?
For the buying? But I think it's Parliament now.
Exactly.
It is now Parliament.
Yeah.
It's not
so, assuming that there was that bribery, then the Parliament cannot be innocent. But I don't think, because we have no proof that there was.
It's just rumored
yeah,
that Anita Among spent about 3 billion shillings to just become a deputy speaker.
Well, I have seen social media with her holding money and the rest. I don't know if she was going to the bank or buying for clothes. I don't know whether giving people. That has been circulating on the social media.
And one would ask, why do you spend all that money to become a deputy speaker?
Exactly.
What are you investing in? What are you going to get out of as deputy speaker?
There is a problem. But also, that said, we have been complaining about this bribery. Actually, it's not only the Oulanyah Kadaga issue. Members of Parliament have been spending a lot of money to come to Parliament. How do they get this money back? Now, we are saying, is it possible that this Parliament should sit down and pass a law stopping this monetization of elections? Because what will happen for people who don't have the money? Will they be able to access any of the elective positions? It is going to be very difficult. But also, how we think about the economy, the way we are running this economy with all this flooding of money when it comes to elections, wherever this money is coming from, no one knows. And then you flood this economy with all this money. What happens? The after effects when all this cash is poured into the economy, the inflation. After what happens? How do we control that? I think this is some of the questions that need to be looked at. But again, we need to sanitize our elections. It does not augur well for just because, and we have seen many of them who have come in with money and have won elections. Some of them are convicts, some of them still have court cases pending, some of them have all types of questionable characters. But because they have money, they have been able to be elected. When the president is talking about social transformation, fighting corruption, I think, has been one of the commitments of the movement. The problem has been the practicability of that fight. How do you fight corruption from up here? You can only do so when you have come from down, because corruption is the questions you are putting the character of someone who is already spoiled from home. So how can we transfer this fight from the boardrooms of Kampala and take them back to the villages where these people are coming from? Because the villagers know who this corrupt person is. For us here, we are looking at people putting on suits, are looking smart and highly qualified, but you cannot know they are corrupt. So I think there is we need to do the flip that. Last time we were discussing about the transformation of Uganda, that from the time the movement came to power, a lot of programs have been put in place and a lot have succeeded. But the problem has been the implementation. How do we implement these programs to benefit the last person? Now, if we involved the last persons into the planning, maybe it would have been possible that even this fight of corruption, the villagers know who is corrupt and who is not. They are not going to send you a corrupt person. But for us, because they have money, they buy their way out. And vulnerable as they are, the villagers will give people votes who end up again swindling whatever little that they have. And there are many forms of corruption other than only money. There are also other forms which I think we shall have time to look at.
Talk about them. Well, I want to thank you so much, Ndugu James Mututa, and I think we can only just stop the debate here. We can't get any further. We just want to wish members of Parliament the best of the 5 years. Jacob Oulanyah as Speaker, and Anita Mong as Deputy Speaker of the 11th Parliament, because it was decided, done yesterday, and of course that's where we are now. Parliament is fully constituted to commence to run and to conduct parliamentary business until 2026. Going forward, we now wait to hear what the President has in stock for now the executive, because the judiciary is set. There are no problems in there, because we have the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice, and of course all the other members in the hierarchy of the judiciary. We now wait to see how cabinet takes shape, and we hope that anytime now that members of Parliament are in the House, taken oath of office, Speaker there, Deputy Speaker there, so we now wait for surprises of who comes back in cabinet and who does not come back in cabinet. But that's for another day. We thank you so much. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka, thanking you and wishing you all the best for today. Good morning and blessings.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
How did his life change? Did it change at all?
هلا إذا شفته شو بتقول له؟
بحبه أنا كتير. أنا بحبه كتير.
The isolation of a nation, the EU plans to slam shut its airspace to Belarus after a passenger jet was forced to make an emergency diversion following a hoax bomb threat. But it led to the arrest of an opposition activist on board. Post-Brexit, Britain's planning to introduce tougher new immigration controls. Despite being welcomed by many, the opposition claims the government caused all the problems in the first place. Two professors in the UK see their lectures on trans rights and prison placements cancelled amid accusations they were transphobic. We hear from the pair.
There's no point trying to have these discussions if we are having our freedom of expression limited.
Contest somehow is seen as being conflict. It can be contest, but, you know, less of the personalisation and certainly less of the silencing.
Very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on RT. The EU has lashed out over the forced diversion of a passenger plane to Belarus, where a Belarusian opposition activist on board was then arrested. The plane in question was ordered to make an emergency landing following a hoax bomb threat. The European Commission chief had branded the incident a state-sponsored hijacking.
This is an attack on democracy. This is an attack on freedom of expression. And this is an attack on European sovereignty. And this outrageous behavior needs a strong answer. Therefore, the European Council decided that there will be additional sanctions on individuals that are involved in the hijacking.
RT's Konstantin Roshkov is following this story for us. Good morning to you, Kostya. Does this mean then that Belarus is now a no-fly zone?
Pretty much so. I mean, the strongest measure EU leaders have announced against Belarus at this point is banning its airlines from using the airspace and airports of the European Union. And that is quite significant, especially if you look at the map and see the geographical position of Belarus. So its aircraft can fly north or west. They can take only two directions, either east towards Russia or south towards Ukraine. Now, Kyiv has announced that they will shut down all air traffic with Belarus, but they fell short of announcing the full closure of its airspace for Belarusian planes. Now, the EU ban is not in force yet, but it'll take just a few days for formal approval. Now, to bring you and the audience up to speed, let me tell you that, of course, we're talking about the grounding of a passenger jet in Minsk last Sunday, which ended with the arrest of the Belarusian opposition figure Roman Protasevich, who was on board that plane. Although Belarusian authorities claimed that they had no bad will, they only offered jet's crew to land in Minsk because they received a tip-off about a bomb on that plane. But anyway, the EU leaders didn't seem to be sold on that, and they called on the International Aviation Organization to conduct an investigation into what they view as, quote-unquote, an unprecedented and unacceptable incident. But you know what's really interesting here, Neil, is that it's not the first episode when a passenger jet is grounded in similar circumstances. For example, in 2016, Ukraine grounded a Belarusian plane because of a passenger on board who, as the Ukrainian authorities claimed at that time, had intentions to destabilize the situation in the country. And that's the story that Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, recalled when he was asked to comment on that situation.
There was a case in 2016, which is less talked about, where a Belarus airline plane was forcibly grounded in Kiev because Ukrainian security services were interested in an Armenian citizen on board that flight. He was taken off and then the plane went on its way. All that without any apologies.
In 2013, an aircraft of Evo Morales, the then president of Bolivia, was also forced to land in Austria after several European countries shut down its airspace. And as it turned out, the CIA thought that a whistleblower, Edward Snowden, was on board that plane. But again, no sanctions, no investigations, no nothing. And, you know, it's interesting, Jen Psaki, the U.S. president's spokeswoman, was asked if she would have expressed similar concerns over the 2013 incident, but she just brushed the question off, saying that, and I quote, "We work with our partners all over the world," end quote. So whatever that means.
Yeah, avoiding answering the question there.
Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead.
Well, the person who was arrested, the opposition activist, Protasevich, that's going to be the big story now going forward, rather than you know, what happened to the plane, and also the treatment of the activist. How's this likely to affect relations between Belarus and the EU?
Sure. So Roman Protasevich is now in detention in Minsk. EU leaders have claimed that he needs to be released right away, although he's now being questioned by investigators in Belarus. And the local law enforcement also published a video with Roman where he made a short statement. So let's have a listen.
My name is Roman Protasevich. I was detained by police officers in Minsk airport. Now I'm in detention center number 1 in Minsk. I can say that I have no problems with my health, including my heart and other organs. The officers have treated me with the utmost respect. I'm continuing to help with the investigation and have admitted to organizing mass protests in the city of Minsk.
Roman is facing up to 15 years behind bars for his role in organizing mass riots against the incumbent Belarusian president Alexander Lukashenko last year. Yes, I guess you can call him a prominent opposition figure, an activist. He's a blogger. He's a co-founder of Nakta Telegram channel, which is considered an extremist organization in Belarus because it released private information about police officers and government officials in Belarus last year. So we're talking about pretty serious criminal charges. Now, this is a developing story. Alexander Lukashenko himself announced that he's going to make a statement regarding this situation, so I'm going to keep you posted.
Okay, we'll watch this very carefully to see what he has to say about this. Thanks for the update. Next, post-Brexit Britain plans to revisit its immigration policies, introducing tougher new controls. It comes as figures show that more than 2,600 migrants crossed the Channel this year alone. The UK's Home Secretary says there's a lot to put right.
The immigration system is broken, but the country isn't. We can't fix the system overnight, but we will fix it.
We're seeing the UK government announcing what they deem to be wholesale changes to the immigration system here. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, saying that the country's immigration system is broken and needs changing, and it comes in the context of the UK, of course, leaving the European Union, a European Union in which many countries do have refugees passing through them, places like Cyprus and Spain. And as far as the UK is concerned, those countries are safe, and if immigrants want to pass through there, well, their status here as refugees or asylum seekers will be denied. Priti Patel also saying that the system that the government wants to build will be fully digitalised.
Our new fully digital border will provide the ability to count people in and count people out of the country. We will have a far clearer picture of who is here and whether they should be, and we will act if they are not.
Now, one change that's also been proposed is to bring in a system similar to the American ESTA system, the ESTA that was introduced after the 9/11 attacks, that requires passengers to pre-register before they make their journey and to pay a fee for doing so. The UK proposing an electronic travel authorization. There have been some who have pointed out some flaws in the government's argument. The opposition parties here, in particular the Labour Party, saying that if the immigration system is broken and it's been dubbed a hostile environment, well, then it's the Tory parties, the same party that's currently in power, that actually built that same system.
Clearly, people who have no right to be in this country shouldn't be here. But what we have seen from the Home Office is utter incompetence on this. What we don't want to see is the government deflecting blame for their own failure when it's their incompetence, their management and mismanagement of the Home Office that has been the problem.
Now, of course, the United Kingdom, like most countries around the world, have a number of obligations under international treaties when it comes to the treatment, in particular, of refugees and asylum seekers. And there are some in the country who are arguing that these changes would take the UK away from those obligations and leave the UK lagging in its responsibilities.
Dr. Joseph Downing from the London School of Economics is surprised it took the UK government so long to propose a digital border.
You know, over 5 years of Brexit negotiations, right, for the end of freedom of movement to arrive. So why don't we have a digital border now? Why is it now that we're proposing to fully digitalise the border by 2025? Like, we've known already for 5 years that freedom of movement is coming to a close. It seems to me that they're trying to close the barn door after the horse has already bolted. It's actually quite strange. The problem with illegal migration, and as Priti Patel keeps saying that people who shouldn't be here are going to be removed, is that deportations are really difficult and really expensive, and the Tory government doesn't have a particularly strong record on deportations. Many business owners are complaining as the UK economy wakes up from its COVID-induced slumber that they actually can't hire staff to attract staff, which is clearly a problem. The problem with the UK is it's gone down that neoliberal route of economic liberalisation, where we effectively rely on huge amounts of migrant labour. This is something that the Tory party is going to have to make some, I think, quite uneasy compromises on, because we still need that large supply of labour, yet we've cut it off from Central, Eastern and Southern Europe.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on a diplomacy mission to the Middle East, the first stop on the tour of the region, Jerusalem, where he'll try to boost the recently agreed ceasefire. He's also pledged that the US will deal with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and reaffirmed President Biden was determined to pursue the idea of a two-state solution with equal benefits for both Israelis and Palestinians.
Relentless, determined, but quiet diplomacy is what got us to where we needed to be, which is to get the violence ended as quickly as possible.
Last week's ceasefire brought to an end 11 days of bloodshed between Israel and Gaza, the confrontation resulting in more than 250 casualties from both sides. Meanwhile, the peacemaking efforts coincide with last week's approved arms sale to Israel. The $735 million deal has even alarmed Biden's own party, with some urging the president to take a harder line with Israel. The Turkish leader also condemned the sale.
You are, unfortunately, writing history with blood on your hands in this incident that led to a seriously out-of-proportion attack in Gaza.
It would be appalling for the Biden administration to go through with $735 million in precision-guided weaponry to Netanyahu without any strings attached in the wake of escalating violence and attacks on civilians.
I believe that the United States must help lead the way to a peaceful and prosperous future for both Israelis and Palestinians. We need to take a hard look at whether the sale of these weapons is actually helping do that, or whether it is simply fueling conflict.
This tour will reveal that the Biden administration has simply nothing new to offer other than a return to the deadly status quo. And what they're offering is basically bread for Palestinians, butter for Palestinians, and guns for the Israelis. That's the dynamic that Biden is playing into with a $735 million arms sale to Israel, which consists of JDAM 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs that we recently saw take down civilian towers containing residential homes and media offices in Gaza, and then a bunch of more aid to the Gaza Strip while that strip remains under siege. Tony Blinken and this administration are never going to be honest brokers that are fair to both sides.
The recent escalation in the Middle East saw many Muslim nations criticize Israel over what they branded war crimes in Gaza, something Tel Aviv strongly denied. Iran has been among the most notable critics. For some insight into Tehran's position, we spoke to the election campaign chief of former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
There have been many UN resolutions regarding the people of Palestine, but unless they are respected, such escalations will be unavoidable. So the side that is failing to observe these resolutions is at fault. What we're looking for is mutual understanding, based on which all the stakeholders in this conflict, especially the Palestinians, can have their legal rights recognized by the world. We expect more attention on the part of the international community to this issue. We also expect them to take practical measures. The world is watching how the resolutions are issued, and while some are being observed, others don't seem to have any guarantees behind them. There are clearly double standards at play here. It's not tenable to keep the population of Gaza under a severe blockade. We will use all available avenues to support human rights, especially the rights of those who have been deprived of their rights to determine their fate. The blockade of Gaza must end. I'd like to note that Iran didn't reap any benefits while the 2015 nuclear deal was in force. We need to locate the root cause of that. Naturally, the Islamic Republic of Iran will abide by its international obligations and has abided by them. The question is why the other party failed to do that. And if a new deal is agreed, is there any guarantee that the same thing won't happen again? We should all act within the framework of mutual respect and international law. What measures will there be in place for the other party if they fail to abide by their obligations? We are seeking practical measures that will ensure our people reap some benefits from this international agreement. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad will pursue Iran's national interests in this issue.
Still to come on RT, farmers in the UK have a major beef, it seems, with a proposed tariff-free trade deal with Australia. They say it threatens the very existence of their industry. That story and others after the break.
buying stocks that have declared bankruptcy is always a recipe for disaster. And that's just something that you accept as common wisdom, as accepted wisdom. And you don't think twice about it. But this millennial generation of Gen Z, who are brought up in the gaming environment, brought up on Bitcoin, brought up on Robinhood, they don't have those restrictions. They don't have that legacy thinking. They're just looking at it with a more gimlet-eyed clarity and seeing things for what they are. They clearly saw, hey, this is a great brand trading for pennies. That makes sense to me. It's worth the risk-reward ratio to put some capital to work in Hertz, and they've been rewarded handsomely by it.
Join me every Thursday on The Alex Salmond Show, when I'll be speaking to guests on the world of politics, sport, business and show business. I'll see you then.
Welcome back. Two academics invited to give lectures at a British university on topics that included trans rights and prison placements have seen their invitations cancelled. They were accused of being transphobic for questioning whether transgender activists were stifling free speech. Professor of Criminology Jo Phoenix was even targeted with a threatening flyer that listed her perceived crimes next to an image of a gun. Essex University has since apologised for cancelling the talks of both professors. An internal investigation found the move was a breach of freedom of expression. After complaining about what happened, Professor Rosa Friedman was re-invited to speak. We got the story directly from both professors.
When I complained that academic freedom was being curtailed and that was covered, Essex actually backtracked at that time and re-invited me and re-platformed me, but have not invited me back to speak on campus since, despite me being there 4, 5 or 6 times every year previously. Really, I was there to talk about the United Nations human rights and anti-Semitism, which is an area of my expertise. I'm a professor of international human rights law. And it seems that the complaints that were made about my views on sex and gender identity. And that even though I was speaking on a completely different topic, some people, it seems, complained and said that it would make people unsafe on campus if I were to be there. So I think that we can have these conversations where we discuss and we look to resolve conflicts of rights, but we have to have them within workplaces, and particularly university campuses, where the law is being upheld. There's no point trying to have these discussions if we are having our freedom of expression limited, or where people's employment is being threatened for even trying to have these debates.
I was due to give a talk about how we might map out, if you like, the tensions between sex-based rights in the UK and the right and correct desire to ensure that trans individuals are not unnecessarily, but not discriminated against. My talk was looking at, well, how do we actually, as an organization called the Prison, begin to square or resolve some of the difficulties and complexities. And of course, the first port of call in all of that is to actually acknowledge that those difficulties are there. At the moment, though, there seems to be something about about student groups particularly wanting to shy away from having these contested debates. And I think what it boils down to is that contest somehow is seen as being conflict. And of course, we need to begin to shift that. How we have debate in this country, it can be contest. But, less of the personalization and certainly less of the silencing.
An estimated $150 billion in oil revenue has been smuggled out of Iraq since the US-led invasion in 2003. That claim was made by the Iraqi president as he unveiled a draft bill to fight endemic corruption.
Of the near $1 trillion made from oil since 2003, an estimated $150 billion of stolen money has been smuggled out of Iraq. That money would have been enough to restore the country to a better condition.
The Iraqi president intends to seize money stolen in corrupt deals and to hold those responsible to account. He highlighted the corruption that shook the country back in 2003 after the US-led coalition invaded the country and overthrew Saddam Hussein.
American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
Author and independent journalist Nicholas Davies isn't surprised by the lasting fallout from the US intervention in Iraq.
Everywhere where the United States has conducted regime changes, whether through coups, as in Haiti or Honduras, or through invasions, as of Iraq and Afghanistan, or sort of hybrid bombing and proxy wars like Libya, or as we see now in Yemen. And every one of these countries has really been pretty much destroyed, or certainly completely destabilized for many, many years. So that is what regime change accomplishes. But as we see from this report, it can also make a lot of people very, very rich, and a lot more people very, very poor.
The UK government's facing a wave of criticism from angry farmers and environmentalists over its proposed zero-tariff trade deal with Australia. Farmer Patrick Holden outlined to us his fears about the move.
Particularly for Wales and for Northern Ireland and for Scotland, the impact of this deal will be to undercut the prices that we are receiving for our animal products, whether it's beef or sheep or, in my case, dairy products, with cheap imports. And nothing against Australian farmers. There are some excellent Australian farmers practicing proper ecological management, but the food that is likely to be imported with this trade deal is probably feedlot beef from intensively farmed animals, and no one wants that. We'll just be offshoring our greenhouse gas emissions to Australia.
Farmers claim that a zero-tariff trade deal with Australia would jeopardise the UK farming industry. Australia wants full access to the UK food market without any taxes on imports or quota restrictions. It's claimed that would lead to decreased meat prices because food in the UK is produced at higher standards and costs. And according to the Department for International Trade, the deal would only boost the UK economy by 0.025%. The Scottish National Party claims that the deal is such a threat to Scotland's farmers, it's demanding the Secretary of State for Scotland fights back or resigns over the matter.
I urge you to break your deafening silence on this crucial issue and fight back against this damaging deal. Given the seriousness and scale of this issue for Scotland's farmers and crofters, it is also clear that your only credible option is to make clear that this is a resigning matter should your views be ignored in Cabinet.
Farmer Patrick Holden again thinks Boris Johnson must restrict such trade deals when it comes to the farming sector.
After the Brexit deal, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson is very anxious to demonstrate that we can form new trade deals with other countries throughout the world. Nothing wrong with that. But what he should be doing, if he's going to show real leadership at the moment, is restricting those trade deals to deals which are climate friendly, particularly in relation to farming. Because, as you will know, the majority of the planet today is no longer rainforest and pristine wilderness. It is farmed. And so, therefore, farming practices of the future are going to have a crucial effect on greenhouse gas emissions. And we now know that if you farm in harmony with nature, you can lock up CO2 into the soil and therefore trade in food, which is part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Okay, let's finish with a quick look at other news stories making headlines globally, starting in Malaysia, where more than 200 people have been injured after two trains collided in the capital, Kuala Lumpur. One train was packed with passengers, the other was empty and travelling in the opposite direction on the same track. An early probe into this incident says it may have been caused by a failure at the rail control centre. 3,000 students have been marching in Mexico City, demanding the authorities speed up the COVID vaccine program. So far, jabs in Mexico have only been given to people over 50 years of age and the most vulnerable. Students are against a proposed return to face-to-face teaching without having the opportunity to get a COVID shot. And let's end with some beautiful pictures of Mount Etna, Europe's largest active volcano. It's been sending lava and rocks spewing into the air in recent explosive activity. This is Etna's 20th eruption this year alone. And that wraps it up for this news hour. You're watching RT. Really appreciate your company. If you can, join me with updates in half an hour.
When old truths seem wrong, when old rules just don't hold, and a new world is yet to shape out, disdain becomes the etiquette, and engagement equals betrayal. When so many find themselves worlds apart, we choose to look for common ground.
Я на самом деле очень страшный человек. Мне приходится чаще, чем другим людям, иногда доказывать, что я — это я. И она видала вот так вот, говорит, иди отсюда. Привет, друг. Чё? Вот она началась. Живу я на юге Приморья, край России, самый край Дальнего Востока. Ощущение от места, конечно, странное. Здравствуйте, меня зовут Денис, мне 33 года, и я не такой, как все. Наверное, самое главное — это вот договориться разумом. Найти себя, тогда и ты найдешь гармонию уже с остальным окружающим тебя миром.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Kaseera kaakanayo kyani mu kisaawe ky'omupiira kalimu vaawo mpitewo kaakaasa mmeeme n'obuwanguzi bw'ebyafaayo kyonna ekibaawo ng'abawagizi tuyimirira wamu ne ttiimu zaffe okutuusiza ddala ku nkomerero. Gino gye mipiira gy'oteekeddwa okulaba. Weekuumire ku GoTV olw'emipiira egy'akamalirizo egitabangawo mu byafaayo by'omupiira. GoTV, love it. Up next on UBC, brought to you by...
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Good evening and welcome to the Best of a Good Life. I'm
so happy to be here. I feel like dabbing a little bit. One thing I want to tell you about is these La Paire glasses. Man, these brothers had to hook me up with the best glasses in town, with the right frame and the best lens, you know? So I'm just showing off I'm looking cool, yeah? So the next guest I have on my show tonight, she's gonna shock you guys. Very incredible young lady. She's a feminist, a philanthropist, she's a makeup artist, a model, and to mention but a few. Now, this young lady believes in one thing: women emancipation. She believes that women can be powerful, women can propel to any level, they can be limitless and be whatever they want to be. I feel like we could have that soundtrack of Alicia Keys' song, "This Girl is on Fire." Lucy, welcome to the show. Oh my God, I'm super charged and excited to have you.
I feel overwhelmed. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I feel like I didn't even fully introduce you.
The introduction is too much. I feel like I'm in heaven right now.
Come on, it's just my show.
I don't know, like I won, I'm a queen.
Yeah. So it feels very exciting to have you, and I feel like I did actually introduce you that much. If you're given a chance to introduce yourself, how can you introduce yourself? Please introduce yourself to my audience.
My name is Lucy Karabo Joyce.
Karabo?
Yes. I'm a feminist. I'm a makeup artist.
Yeah.
I'm a commercial model. I'm a founder of Girls Lifeline Organization.
Yeah.
I am a girl child activist.
Yeah.
I come from the West Nile part of Uganda.
Ooh.
I'm a Kakwa by tribe.
Whoa. But Karabo sounds a bit like you're from Soroti, or I don't know.
South Africa, maybe I'm from South Africa.
It almost sounded like Chirabo.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's an adorable name. When you say that you're a makeup artist, of course, with no doubt, I can definitely see the look. She looks fly, Lois. What do you think about our guest and her? You know, the hair is on fleek, the fashion and everything is dope. Dev is giving you thumbs up. But it's good to have you. It's good to have you. I love what you're doing for the society, especially women. Why female emancipation? Why do you feel like you have a role to play in the women world?
Thank you, Drago. This is really amazing for me to share.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I love helping people. I'm a people's person, so I really like to help young women. Where I come from, women are still believe in African traditional norms, where women are supposed to stay home, look beautiful, and wait for their husbands, and the girls are not actually given the opportunity to study. Because when you have a boy child in the house, oh my God, like as if you've got the king. But for us, the girls, like if you go, oh, this is gonna be a prostitute. So I grew up in that environment where I feel like girls have limited time. Girls have potential to change the world. It's just because we're not given an opportunity to share, to express our feelings. So I stand for the community where I come from because I want to make a change. West Nile has been a war zone. People come from South Sudan, people are mixed, different tribes from DRC. So people don't really focus. And people that comes from DRC, actually, they're from the village area. So meaning they mix now. This is like a kachogo. You're not mixing a kachogo where you don't even have anything to share, anything like good vibe. People still believe on the old life. So I feel like I need to come up and make a change in the West Nile region.
So Lucy, were you also born from there? Are you raised from there?
Yes, I was born in West Nile region from Koboko, actually from the bordering district that is Koboko district.
How was it like?
It's really tough. Like life is not the same the way you think it's in Kampala. But unfortunately, I was lucky. I grew up in Kampala. I came to Kampala at the age of 9. So my whole life I studied primary here, university here. So
which schools particularly? Let's go with uni. Which uni did you study from?
St. Lawrence University. Got bachelor degrees in public administration and management.
Oh, yes. That's smart.
So the idea actually came from when I was doing my research. I was doing, when you're in second year, you have to do research proposal and you have to come. So I came up with a topic called refugees. And then I was like, Lucy, why did you do refugees? I'm like, Mom, I come from a humble family background. My mom works so hard. I lost my dad, and I come from a family of 8 children. And my mom works left to right to make sure that my siblings get everything they need. Unfortunately, it's so hard for her. So me as was given an opportunity to grow up in Kampala, raised by my auntie, I got everything that I need. The dream that I want to be, always want to be a graduate, and I did that. So I wanted to show that, auntie, this is your product. This is what you.
One would wonder, Lucy, you're a makeup artist, you're a commercial model, what else do you have on your lap? Where do you even get time to do all this? Come on.
Because I love what I'm doing.
You're too busy looking good. Why do you get time to go down to these girls and empower them and give them stuff?
I love everything I do. And it's easy actually too. When you love something, when you talk about modeling, when you talk about makeup artists and Girls Lifeline, the organization, it is easy for me because I love what I'm doing. And it's so much like, you're doing this. Makeup is, I actually learned makeup because they used to call me this black girl. You know, when I was doing modeling, I was discriminated. They could not pick it.
Because of your skin color?
Because of my skin.
Wow.
So in Uganda, mostly companies like light skin. So every time I was like, hey, come and do the makeup, I was the last person to do my makeup. So when I was doing my modeling 3 years back, I modeled for TV, commercial, and I do photo shoots. So when I was doing my makeup, they could make me change my color. So I look like, okay, what is this? And then when the designers come, they always pick the light skin girls. So I have that self-esteem, like, okay, am I because I'm a dark skin? So I was like, okay, I think I should do my own makeup. So that's how I came up with doing my own makeup to look just me. I don't want to change. I don't want to be anybody else, only me. So I started doing my makeup for only those people who believe in themselves, because nowadays people is black and white. So black people want to be white.
There is this girl you look like. You have that ethnic resemblance with. Help me. There is this girl who is a dancer. She's
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Yes. They have that similarity. Do you see it? Do you see it, guys? You somehow resemble her. Yeah. So Lucy, what is it that you tell these girls when you go and you meet them?
First thing is leadership. Being yourself. Being a feminist. I don't want them to be like feminists, to be over, but I want them to be themselves, to take opportunity on leadership skills, because in school sometimes they don't look at girls important. Like, you know, when you take like, I'm not taking that product or anything, she's not going to do anything. So I want the girls to love themselves and take leadership skills, to be acknowledged in the society, because every girl has an opportunity to shine. Every person can do better. We have presidents now, women for president.
True.
I look at Rebecca, she's my best actually. Yeah. And I want to be like Rebecca, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga.
We're going to go in for a break. It has been very nice hearing your story. For starters, because it's still continuing on. And now, guys, we are going to have another guest on set, I'm telling you. Today, I'm serving a buffet of guests. But before we go in for a break, I want to tell you about Hammam Spa and Saloon. I always tell you that these guys are the best. I don't know if Dave can have a close-up of this. They have the best services in town. You know, there's some that I can't even pronounce here. The Derma Clean Body. All types of massages. They have pedicure, manicure. You can come here and have a great time. Hammam Spa and Saloon is still located at Fairway Hotel. So we are going to go in for a break, and when we return, we shall be ready to meet our other guest. He's quite charming and interesting, so I wouldn't want to take the cat out of the bag. Stay tuned.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop, or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Kapo, you seem to be in a hurry. Where are you going to?
I'm gonna pay URA visit.
But you can access URA online. Why pay a visit?
To know more about the Kakasa Business Solutions, namely digital tracking solution, the voluntary disclosure program, and electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, which have turned my business around. You know I need to be on top of my game to protect my empire. If you know, you know.
I too need to know what Kapo knows.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
And if you're just joining us, where were you? Yeah? I think I'm going to start doing roll calls. We're not keeping a time. But you didn't miss a lot. You know, earlier I talked to a very incredible feminist who is an activist, a philanthropist, and a model, a makeup artist, an entourage of a bunch of things. She's called Lucy, the girl with the confidence. And now joining us on set, he comes all the way from Burundi. And this brother of mine, he's a photographer, journalist. Very interesting career. Now, today, I'm all about celebrating young people that are doing incredible things. One thing that I really despise a lot in this, our journalism field or our entertainment field, is that we constantly want to host people that are sharing the same thing. You go on YouTube, the same thing. Story 1, story 2. You go on another channel, the same thing. Everything is just regurgitated. Buli kimu mukiddamu. Omuntu omu n'ayogera story emu. Explore. Go and find these interesting stories. These young girls and young boys that are doing incredible things. Now, with no further ado, allow me to introduce the incredible, the one with the most hilarious name, Jocelyn. And it's not even a girl. Jocelyn, I'll always keep on laughing at your name because, man, an incredible name. Interesting. So you come all the way from Burundi.
Boy from Burundi.
Yeah. How did you come to settle in Uganda? And tell me a bit about your photojournalism.
I came in Uganda for my studies. I came to do IT, but after all things changed. You know, we always dream to be something, and after a while, things change. So
what changed and what made you change?
What made me change? I had this lecturer that could tell me, I went to UK, you won't succeed, you won't do what in programming. Like, he made me hate programming, and programming was part of it. So if you don't like programming in IT, it's a part of it, big part of it. So he made me quit IT. I had that dream of becoming IT guy, yes.
You're also a person with a whole bunch of things, just like Lucy. You're a photojournalist, you're also an aspiring TV presenter, you're also, what else do you do?
Philanthropist.
Philanthropist as well. You've done some charity and volunteering somewhere. Wow, wow, this is amazing. And you're only? Your age?
21.
21. Wow, wow. Now, Burundi is a very interesting country. And journalists there, as far as I know and concerned, they don't have a lot of rights. I mean, they don't have that freedom of exploiting and doing whatever they do as journalists. I mean, was that one of the reasons that persuaded you to come here? Why did you pick Uganda in particular? Why not Rwanda, Kenya?
Okay, Uganda, first of all, is a good country. It has good people, and it's really interesting when it comes on opportunities. You get opportunities, full of them. So in Burundi, as you're saying that journalists don't have that freedom of speech and stuff like that, it's because we have been through a lot. I've been through a lot, so there is this barrier that is there, that they can't allow you to speak about something because there have been that crisis and stuff like that, yes.
Okay, now, where's my camera? Dave. So now, guys, if you're just hearing some back sound or background sound, that is not the weirdest sound ever known to mankind. They are trying to transform this place and make it better, so there are a bit of drilling, yeah? So you'll bear with us. You'll bear with us. Jocelyn, so tell me, you also do modeling, the same thing that Lucy does. How is it different from what you do? What kind of modeling do you do?
First had this opportunity in Fly UG. It's a community of young people that was helping young people to accept who they are, stay true to themselves. So I applied in their fashionista photo shoot. So I went featured in their magazines, 4 magazines. So it was a big opportunity. Then I met with Fire Red. There's a company called Fire Red, models and advertising company. So being different about it, I featured in magazines. So my pictures don't go on social media or billboards, stuff like that. So I feature in magazines, yeah.
Okay, so and where are these places that you've done your volunteering at? Because you've told me you've tried to volunteer and you're also a philanthropist. How are those two related?
Volunteered with Fly UG. That's where my story began, where I had no self-esteem. Yeah.
Lucy also talked about self-esteem. Yo!
Low. I was very low. Yeah. So anyone could come and tell me, you know what, you can't do it, and stop from there, you know. So Fly UG made me who I am today. Gave me platforms, different platforms. Then I volunteered with them around almost 4 years. And after I joined Rich Hand Uganda, it's a youth-led organization that talks about sexual reproductive health and rights, stuff like that. So we go into schools, we talk to girls and boys about menstrual hygiene management, HIV and AIDS, stuff like that. So after that, I'm now volunteering with Miss Uganda Foundation. I help them to find schools, to find young single mothers who are stuck at home, you know, stuff like that. So a part of on my part, I do that with a community called I Give East Africa. It's a community of young people. We do help out in communities and schools. So we give out pads. We do charity once or twice in a year in different communities, slum areas, and we go up country. So I've taken this to another extent, took it to Burundi, and we have done a lot of...
That is it. I was going to ask you, have you taken all that experience back home?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you often visit?
Yes.
Now, I'll get back to you and how you came to find out about the show. There is a very fascinating stories you guys don't want to miss about how he came to feature on this show. Because I sent out a shout out and he responded. Lucy, what do you think about government players and some other NGOs that are trying to emancipate women because they are there? Are they doing the right thing? How are they doing it? Are they doing it in the Lucy way you want it to be? Why do you feel like you have to put a brick on that? Because they are there.
Okay, when you talk about the government institutions and international institutions, they work, they come here to work.
Because
it's like a job.
Just Lucy, there is an initiative that was, I think, being introduced by the First Lady or the President's office. I don't know. Have you seen the adverts running on our TV about empowering women and skills? They even have, I think they have an institution just there closer to our UBC territory, yeah? It's called what? Scaling Uganda. Have you heard about that?
I think a little bit.
Okay, so how is yours different?
When you talk about the international and government institutions, young people need to hear from the young ones. Because when you talk about the international, let me talk about UNHCR, because we work with the refugees. We move to different communities. We don't only focus on these, small communities. We go beyond. We want to see people's different stories. So when you talk about these international NGOs, they came here to work. They're older people. So they talk to young people. Young people need young generation to talk to them and inspire them. Like, I can't say, okay, Jago, you know what? You're going to tell me something of old 90s, 80s. 90s. Like, I can't, young girls need to hear things from their young fellows so that they can say, I want to be like her.
What's the future like for, is it Girls Line? Yeah, Girls Lifeline. What do you want people to know? How do you want them to participate? How do you want them to contribute to your calling?
We would want to work with different organizations. The ones you said, international organizations, international institutions, we want to work with them. So I would want to invite them to come and join Girls Lifeline, because we are women who really keep our word. We are determined, we are focused. We want to make sure that whatever we promise people, we do it. So we are not here to play games, because we find ourselves, we don't have, big grants from an international organization like other people do. So we find ourselves, we do the work when we are willingly, and we know what we're doing is right. So we would like to work with different NGOs.
Now, one of the most careers I know that don't pay a lot is journalism. Jocelyn, how are you as a young person surviving in this, our country? Because first of all, you're a foreigner and you're very young, and journalism, this is a fact, journalism doesn't pay a lot. We basically do this because of passion. We do this because of passion, because we love what we're doing. So how are you surviving here?
With journalism?
No, not journalism. How you as a person individually, where do you get the money Site twabadde tumuuza Jocelyn at the beginning. Where do you get the money? Jocelyn is even excited to hear this.
As a person, I really thank God, first of all, thank God. Because God has brought in my life different people that are so good to me. Again.
Who are these people? We also need to get in touch with these people.
I would like, okay, you make me thank them on cameras.
Oh, please, shout out. This is all about shouting
No,
out.
I mean, there's a big man. He's a father to me.
Yeah.
He's called Joel.
Yeah.
And there's another strong woman, strong lady that is impacting lives. Mama Brenda Nanyonjo.
Thank you, Mama Brenda, and thank you, Joel. Big boss. Well done. I wanted to ask you this. I think I ran through you with this question when the cameras were not rolling, that what has been your greatest lesson with this whole experience? You as a person, going firsthand and getting information from these girls that need support. I mean, hearing their sad stories. I mean, what has it taught you about life?
It has taught me so much. For me, I see life is something that we shouldn't brag about it. Life is short, and when you're rich, don't brag to people, don't show them, don't look down on other people. Just be down to earth, be you, because this world is not our home. It's a small world, so we need to love each other. We need to have the humanitarian heart. So let's all have that love for people, not because you want to see your friends crawling on the ground like a snake. That's why you feel happy, but that's not what. For me, I feel like I feel like for us we should have that humanitarian heart.
Okay, how do they contact you? How do they contact? First of all, Girls Lifeline, is it? And then Lucy as a person, how do they contact you?
In social media?
Yeah, social handles.
Girls Lifeline, our website is girlslifeline.org. Our Twitter is #GirlsLifeline03, that is Twitter. And then Instagram, Girls Lifeline Organization. What else? Facebook, Girls Lifeline Organization.
How about you?
Lucy, Lucy Joyce.
Yeah, so will we be seeing you soon on another billboard or somewhere, slaying or flourishing? Yeah. Are you done with that world, or you can still pull out some?
I do commercial when it's necessary.
Yeah.
But not just playing around.
Jocelyn,
yes.
Tell me, bro, how can a person get in touch with you if they want to maybe use some of your services, or if they want you to go and volunteer?
Yes, I believe in volunteering, yes.
How do they get in touch with you?
You can reach out on social media.
Yeah, of course, Twitter.
At Real Jocelyn, at Real Jocelyn, yes. And Facebook at Real Jocelyn, yeah. And Instagram, same way at Real Jocelyn, or you can use WhatsApp, because actually sometimes I'm out of Uganda, in Uganda, so you can reach out. You can reach out on 07088 27 59 5.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. He's a cool brother right there. So what does the future hold for you, Jocelyn? Are you seeing any future in what you're doing, especially with volunteering?
Yes, exactly. Because right now, I came up in 2018 with that community called I Give East Africa. When you go on social media, you can search I Give East Africa. You see incredible work we've done in that period. So what I believe in my future, that is, okay, in my near future, not even near future, I believe that I want to be someone that no one was to me, to someone else. I believe that it's possible. So in that world of volunteering, helping young girls and young boys, I believe that someone will remember that one did something for me. Why can't I do something for others? So I want, if I've done something for you, you go and share the joy with others that I shared with you.
So any other thing that you want to plug in? You see, I'm giving you an opportunity to plug everything in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to, as I told you, I want to be that good presenter. And I do graphics. I design posters, flyers, banners.
Call a brother out. Look out for a brother.
Yes, and I'm really good at I do voiceovers. Yeah. I do voiceovers, and that's really why I do really have interest in different stuff. Yeah. Because if I tell you all the stuff I do, guy, you'll be like, are you the only person doing this? You know? Yeah, so I'm interested.
I like multitasking.
Yeah, so I try to be versatile.
Well, you would have gotten my job, but I think I'm too good for this. I think I'm too good for this, so you can look elsewhere. Our co-host will also work, but I would prefer a lady like Lucy to get me all the traffic. People will be like on TV like, huh? We can't believe it. Guys, I've had so much great time with you. I feel like I didn't want even this interview to end. Well, I'm willing to end the show in style. I'm going to have a selfie, but I would love to thank you guys for coming in. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in your pursuits. All right, until next time we meet, this has been Chilling. Thank you very much. Incredible work done by the team and the people that have been watching this. So I think I'm going to take a selfie with my guys. So let me lose this mic. Guys, let's take a selfie.
Tonight on UBC.
So we are actually a Kenyan-based company. We started fine spinners in Kenya in 1996. We've been importing Ugandan cotton to run our factories. As you know, there's been very little cotton in Kenya. Being the chairman of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, with His Excellency the President of Uganda, President Museveni, and one day he asked me, why are you located in Kenya if your cotton is coming from Uganda? Where you should be located where the raw material comes from and not the other way around. And President Museveni then said, what do you require for us to help you think of that big step in your life that you were thinking of relocation? And I believe at that time, this factory where we are today was originally started in 2002. It was the old coffee marketing board. The journey has been, as you know, over 80 years when it was just a coffee marketing board and it was shipping all the coffee from here.
In chess, the small one can become the big one. It's the same here. And here too. Watch every move. Record every number so you can plan better. No matter the size of your dream, tomorrow's success belongs to those who keep today's records clean. File your returns today.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
An e-invoice is issued by VAT-registered taxpayers, while an e-receipt is issued by non-VAT registered taxpayers.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Okumanya omubiri gwo, endya ennungi, ebyobulamu byonna, n'embeera ennungi. Tuula ntende ku program obulamu bwo.
amaka mangi ensangi zino gasasise olw'ensonga nti abafumbo bambi tebasobola kwawula njawulo eri wakati wa ndwadde za kikaba na urinary tract infection. Ojja neweesanga ng'omwami alina mukyala we, omukyala n'afuna obubonero obwa urinary tract infection, ate omwami n'alowooza nti ki ndwadde za kikaba. Nabwe kityo nno ffenno ab'obulamu bwo ne tukifuula buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe okujja tukusomese urinary tract infection kyeki era wonaaviira wano ng'otegedde bulungi UTI kyeki. Mu studios leero nina Dr. Joel Serubanja. Dr. Joel Serubanja, buuza ku balabi baffe.
Neeyanziza nnyo okumpa akakisa kano. Abalabi baffe mujeebaleko. Leero twagadde nnyo okwogera ku mulamwa ogwa UTI ku show eno ey'obulamu bwo era essanyu lingi okuba nti ndi nammwe leero.
Oli naffe leero. Twesiimye ffe ab'obulamu bwo Dr. Joel okuba nti okkiriza n'otufiisiza akaddo ojje tuyige wamu naffe tusomese abalabi baffe. Kati njagala omulabi waffe ategeere Dr. Joel, UTI oba urinary tract infection kyeki?
UTI bwe bulwadde obukwata ebitundu by'omubiri ebituyamba okufulumya omusulo. Omusulo ge mazzi agava mu mubiri agafulumya obukyafu n'amazzi agaba gayinjiwadde mu mubiri. Bwe tutunulira ebitundu bino tuyina ensigo nga muno omusaayi mwe gusengejjezebwa okugezaako okugyamu ebyetaagisa n'ebiteetaagisa. Ebiteetaagisa bigenda n'amazzi ne bitambulira mu bupayipu bwe tuyita ureters. Buno bubiri buli nsigo erina akaayo. Amazzi gano ne galyoka kagenda ne gakuŋŋaanyizibwa mu bladder oba ke tuyita akawago. Kaakati ku kawago kuliko payipu evaako gye tuyita urethra. Kati ebitundu bino byonna bwe bifuna obulwadde oba obuvune tugiyita ni UTI.
So kyogezaako okugamba nti mu butonde omukyala n'omwami balina ebitundu bya njawulo oba byonna kyekimu? Kiri kyonnyonnyodde eri omusulo gye gukolebwa?
Ekibuuzo ekyo kikulu olw'okuba nti awo we watera okuva okutankana. Abaami ekitundu kye bayita urethra, akapayipu ke bayita urethra kagabanizibwa okuva kawago naye ate kalina we keekutulako ate ne kagabanizibwa okuva mu busajja. Kakati n'obeera nti woofukira ate era
w'okozesa
n'emirimu egy'okuzaala egy'ekisajja. Kati ate mu bakyala kyekyawukanamu nti bayina ekitundu ekyenjawulo eky'okuzaala n'ekitundu ekyenjawulo eky'okufulumya amazzi.
Bw'otunuulira urinary tract infection oba kye tugamba UTI, etundutundu ddene, abalwadde bangi. Oyinza okusanga nga mu nsi yonna kumpi obukadde 150 bw'abantu buli mwaka abakwatibwa obulwadde buno, ate nga abakyala kiwanuzibwa nti bafuna nnyo obulwadde buno okusinga abaami. Era abamanyi ebyokubala bagamba nti abakyala 3 ku buli mwami omu abagenda kufuna obubonero ki
obwa UTI.
Naliyagadde omulabi waffe ategeere obubonero bwa UTI.
Obubonero obwa UTI bungi ate si nti buli muntu ajja mu ddwaliro ajja n'obubonero bwonna, naye nga okumenyaamenya ku wammanga tuyina omuntu ayinza okujja ng'agamba nti bwe mba nfuuyisa mpulira obulumi oba bwe mba nfuuyisa mpulira omuliro, ate ddala kitera okubawo ku musulo ogusemba. Abantu abamu bajja nga bagamba nti bwe mba nfuuyisiza kumukumu emirundi mingi okusinga kujja bulijjo. Ekyo ne kiba nti kibeera kyekuusa ku bulwadde obwa UTI.
Kati awo wenjagadde okubuuza, oli bw'abanga yanywedde bunywi nnyo n'aba nga afuuyisiza kumukumu, oyo naye abeera na UTI?
Okunywa ennyo era oba osuubira nti ojja kubeera ng'ofuuyisa nnyo.
Kyawuka kitya? Njagala onsigire ekifaananyi omulabi waffe abeere ng'asobola okukyawula akabonero kali ategeere.
Kakati omulabi gwali ewaka, enjawulo ey'okuba nti omuntu afunye UTI n'afukira kumukumu kubeera nti nkyukakyuka ebeera nti asigala nga abadde anywa kyekimu ate era ne yeesanga ng'emirundi gy'agenda okufuuyisa mingiko. Ekyo yenjawulo ey'okuba nti buli muntu bw'anywa ennyo era tusuubira nti olina okukola ki okufukira kumu.
Waliyo obubonero obulala ng'olese okufukira okumu n'omusulo guno ogusemba okubanga gukubalagala?
Waliwo obubonero abantu basobola okuwulira olusujjasujja, omugongo okumuluma, okuba nti akooyekooye, mu bakyala okuwulira enneewulire etali ntuufu etali nnungi mu bukyala, ng'obulumirumi bwe butyo. Babeera mu oluusi oyinza okuluma omutwe n'olowooza nti
omuntu alina UTI omusulo gwafuuyisa gwa njawulo ku gwa bulijjo.
Oluusi guyinza okufaanana ng'ogwa bulijjo naye ate oluusi guyinza okuba nga tugamba nti mukwafu nnyo oba gulina bwe tugukebera gulina engeri y'ekikomekome ate oluusi n'empunya teba nnungi,
gulina engeri gye guwonyamu nga teguwonya bulungi. Bwe wayogedde ku bitundu biri ebirala byonna ebikola omusulo, kubanga bwe mbeera mu ddwaliro ojja ne weesanga oli nga alina obulumi eno waggulu mu mugongo, ndowooza nti obulumi bubeerera ku nsigo, osobola okutulambuliramu awo?
Obulumi ku mugongo bwe tutunuulira mu butonde bw'omuntu, obulumi butambuzibwa bwe tuyita obusimu nerves. Okitegedde? Kati nerves ezijjanjaba ezitambuza sigino oba ezitambuza ebyogereddwa omubiri mu mugongo ne mu kawago ne mu bitundu bino mwe tufuuyisiza zitera okuva wano ku mugongo, ziva mu bitundu byebimu. Kati oluusi ojja bulumi buwulira mu mugongo olowooze nti oba bwa mugongo oba bwa nsigo naye ng'ate urinary system eyo yereese obulumi obwo.
Babeera n'omusaayi mu musulo abalina UTI?
Bwe tunaatunuulira ebyenkebera ojja kusanga nti oluusi muyinza okubaamu omusulo mu musaayi, omusaayi mu musulo gw'olaba oba gw'otasobola kukola ki kulaba gwe tulaba nga tukebedde.
Wayogedde ku bulumi abakyala bwe bafuna mu bukyala, ne kinzijukiza okwogera kabonero akamu ke bayita vaginismus. Ndowooza mu lunabudu nyinza okugamba nti singa omukyala aba alina UTI ayinza okwesanga nga ne bw'aba agenze mu kikolwa eky'omukwano ekyokuba n'omwami we, okumukoonako obukonya akatono alina obulumi obw'enjawulo bw'afuna obw'amaanyi ennyo mu bukyala, nakyo nga kiva ku ki? Ku UTI eri gye wayogeddeko. Omuntu ayawula atya olusujjasujja luno lwe wayogeddeko olwa UTI ku musujja omulala ogw'enjawulo?
Oluusi ebiseera ebisinga abantu tebasobola kukola ki kwawula omusujja gwa UTI n'omusujja ng'ogwa malaria gwe tutera okuba nagwo, naye olw'okuba nti tuteeberezebwa ng'ogasseeko obubonero buli obulala, oyinza okugamba nti buno oyinza okuba UTI oba eyinza okuba omusujja omulala ogwa malaria.
Weewaawo, biki ebiviirako abantu okufuna UTI ono?
Ebintu bingi ebyenjawulo. Waliwo embeera abantu mwe batambuliza emirimu gyabwe egya bulijjo ezisobola okuleetera omuntu okufuna obulwadde bwa UTI. Okugeza ebiseera ebisinga tufuna abalwadde abakyala. Waliwo kye wayogeddeko nti abakyala balina emikisa emibi mingi okufuna UTI,
mingiko okusinga
egy'abaami, olw'okuba nti abakyala we bafuuyisiza wagaziko okusinga ku baami. Kaakati bwe nzirayo ku kibuuzo ky'ombuuzizza, ogenda okusanga nti toyireeti abantu ze bakozesa njama, obujamu obwo either bw'oba ozikutteko ne weekwatako oba nga weesangula, oba amazzi okuva mu toyireeti ne gakkuba mu busajja oba mu bukyala, kisobola okuwa.
Ate nga bw'oyogera bw'otyo Dokita mpozi nga tonnavaawo awo okuddayo wali wootandikidde nti obubumbwa oba obutonde bw'omukyalo n'engeri gye yakolebwa nti bw'aba agenze emmanju wekanga ebiseera ebisinga alina okusitama, kati kyanguwa nnyo okusammukirwa obukyafu buli ate nga kiri kiwagambye nti webafuyisiza wagaziko ne bafuna obuwuka buno. Ate n'ekirala bw'otunuulira obutonde nti tulina emiwaato ebiri. Waliwo emiwaato wetufulumiza tugeze ng'ogenze manju tuyita long call, naye ate ne wabeerawo n'okufuyisa. Kati ngeri gye birinaanye waliwo obuwuka obuva eri ewava long call obuva mu kyenda bwe tuyita E. coli obusingira ddala ddala okuleeta ki UTI ono. So omuliraano gwokya bbiri. Olugero olwo olujjukira omuliraano gwokya bbiri. Omuliraano gwokya bbiri kye bava bagamba nti omuliraano gwokya bbiri nti singa ennyumba ensiisira ziba zeerinaanye kakati yemu neekwata omuliro kyangu nnyo neeno endala okukola ki okukwata omuliro era toweeyibaala nti gwe tolyambye muno kuzikiza eri olw'ensonga nti kyangu nnyo ate naawe neeyokola ki
ate okireetedde mu kabanga nga batutadde nnyo ewaka olw'okuba nti kasita twawulira nti mu muliraano gw'e Kenya Rwanda wa balina obufuzi buno obwa korona tetugenda bwogerako leero naye naffe ne tutya
kubanga mulirwana aba n'obuzibu kati n'ebitundu biri ebyekyama naddala ebyomukyalo engeri gye birinaaniganye kyangu nnyo obuwuka okuva ate ku mulirwana ne bujja ewa neiba ne buleeta ki obuwuka. Naye tugenda kuwummulamu katono bwe tukomawo tugenda kutegeera biki ebirala ebyenjawulo ebivirako abakyala bano oba abantu okufuna UTI. Tovaawo. Kulikayo nnyo mu kuwummulako wetugendedde mu kuwummulako Dr. Serubanja abadde akyatunnyonnyola ebirala ebyenjawulo ebiviirako omuntu okufuna endwadde ya UTI. Dr. Joel, birala ki ebiviirako abantu okufuna UTI kubanga weesanga nga si buli omu nti azirwala kumukumu ng'omulala. Kati lwaki abandi abalala bazifuna nnyo okusinga abalala?
Waliwo kye twayogeddeko nti UTI engeri gye buli nti buno obulwadde bukwata ebitundu ebifulumya omusulo n'ebitundu byennyini ebifulumya omusulo ebibanga tebyatondebwa bulungi oba nga mulimu endwadde ze byafuna ne zibikyusa. Okugeza singa tutunuulira twayogedde ku pipe, waliwo pipe eva ku kawago okutuusa we tufuuyisiza. Pipe eyo singa eba yagoomamu ontegedde gye tuyita kinked urethra okitegedde oba singa eba nga eyina we yafundamu enarrow urethra tuba kite nti ekitundu wabeerawo ekitundu amazzi bwe galegama bwe tuba nga tufuuyisa amazzi ago bwe galegama obuwuka buno bwe wayogeddeko nga bu E. coli gasaka obuwuka bumaamira ne buzaalira awo ne tufuna UTI.
Pozi omulabi waffe kye yalitegedde ku nsonga eyo nti mu butonde omuntu asobola okuzaalibwa nga payipu erino gy'ayogerako ey'omusulo nga eriko obulemu nga kyayogedde oba nga nfunda oba nga eri kinked nga bw'oyogedde so neekola okulegama.
Oba waliwo endwadde ze tulwala nga enziku gye boogerako gonorrhea.
Endwadde y'abazira.
Endwadde y'abazira.
Lwaki bagiyita ndwadde y'abazira?
Endwadde y'abazira
muzira ki obuli awo?
Nti abasajja abeegattanga n'abakyala abangi baalwalanga endwadde eyo obusajja ne buzimba. Kaakati ng'obeera n'obusajja obukoze eki
obunene
obuzimbe bulwadde obuzimbu ng'olabikanga
nze ate kinalisuubidde anyway mu ntegera yange ntono nali ndowooza nti ekigiyisa endwadde y'abazira nti obulumi obwakivangamu ebiseera ebisinga omuntu watyanga okuddayo gye kyakoze eki gye kyavudde kati eyaddangayo kyawanuzibwanga nti ye muzira. Simanyi bino byange ndowooza
era ebyo bibyo nze ate mbadde ndowooza bweyogedde ku bulumi nti tewayagalanga kukaaba waka kulaga nti wafunye obulwadde obwo ng'obeera mu bulumi
ofa kisiiri Dr. alimalayo ebintu ebivirako abantu okufuna UTI.
Waliwo endwadde ezikyusa mu mbeera zaffe ez'omubiri ng'obulwadde bwa sukaali. Obulwadde bwa sukaali buleetera n'omusulo gwennyini ogusaka mu kawago okubeera mu sukaali. Ate obuwuka buno bwagala nnyo sukaali era ng'abaana abato buwuka nabwo bwagala sukaali ebiwoomerera. Obulwadde obwo ne butuleetera embeera yaki ya UTI.
So nekiwanuzibwa nti omuntu alina endwadde ya sukaali ate kijja